Hello, mic testing. Hi, good morning everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. May I please request everyone to take their seats. We'll be starting the conference in about a minute's time. Thank you. May I please request everyone to take their seats? We'll be starting the conference soon. May I please request people at the back to take their seats?
And on the side.
And on the sides as well?
Not you. You can start. Please be seated at the back.
May I please request everyone at the back to take their seats? We're just about to start the conference. In case we need any assistance, we have team dialogues in pink jackets. You could reach out to them.
Not the one in pink vest.
Yeah, the blazers only. Hot pink blazers. Great, looks like everyone's almost settled in.
Yes.
All right, good morning everyone and welcome to the Dialogues Edition 18 Synergy. A heartfelt thank you to all the architects and designers for taking the time from your busy schedules and gracing the event with your presence. Dialogues Edition 18 Synergy presented to you by our key sponsor Pidilite, with RTs as the headline partner, Flexstone as the supporting partner, Eka Pidilite as the luxe and wood finish partner, Couche 7 as the signature kitchen partner, Toffenster as the elite partner, and the India Fitness Company as the wellness and fitness experience partner. Also, a big thank you to all our partnering product companies, A-Class Marble, D-Decor Home Fabrics, Detail the Home Culture, EQ, Hastings, Jaipur Rugs, Lauritz Niston Electrical and Automation, Pacific Quartz, Polyfarm, Siemens, Somani, Stonelimb, Vox India, World of Stones, and Zydex. A very special thanks to our technology partner, Aero Digital, for presenting today's conference, Dialogues Synergy. Aero Digital is a forward-thinking digital company from India that builds modern digital ecosystems for ambitious, growth-driven brands operating at the intersection of technology, design, and performance marketing. With a vision of creating solutions from India for the world, the company crafts impactful digital experiences that help businesses strengthen their digital presence and scale confidently in the global digital economy. We would also like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our partners for the signature product at Dialogues events, Totems of Synergy. Our dedicated manufacturing partner, FB Design Studio, finishing partner, Color Coats, material partner, Indowood, and again, of course, Eka Pidilite, our luxe and wood finish partner. Your relentless effort and passion have been instrumental in transforming the vision and inspiration of 11 designers into reality. Together, we're thrilled to announce the launch of signature collection of Totems of Synergy designer totem poles. I would now like to call upon Ridhima Prabhu, the event director, to address the conference.
Yeah. How sweet. Okay, so we have this room today full washed in pink and white, soft, powerful, elegant, but yet striking. As I see, many of you have embraced it with effortless grace. And I'm sure we have had certain few who have had this last minute thought, do I own a pink? And yet we are all right here on theme. And to that one person for whom this is just a hint of pink, who's just worn a pocket scarf or a flower, Zubin. You have chosen the most time-efficient interpretation of my dress code. But however, so see, pink and white, you know, like as we do everything in dialogues, it's just not about aesthetics, it's intentional. As we see pink and white, it together it's just not beautiful, but it is well balanced. So when they come together, they just don't create something, they create something powerful than either on its own. And that's what is synergy about, and that's what this room represents. So I welcome you to Dialogues Edition 18, Synergy. I thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you who are present here to have taken the time to have made this journey and be here with this intent and energy, you know. And I know like the pace that you operate at and the demands on your time, but to be yet present here, fully present here for this collective experience, I thank you very much for this. Thank you. And I also thank all our partnering companies and collaborators, many of them who have been a part of Dialogue since the very beginning, since we have started. And what we share today is beyond just this professional alignment. You are a very important integral part of this ecosystem and this narrative that we have built together, and your continued faith and belief in this platform is what makes Dialogues grow edition after edition. You know, over a period of time, Dialogues has been more than just a gathering here. You know, and it's been like it's a space where connections are just not made, but they are strengthened. You know, we have moved from like just simply acknowledging each other's work, but actively shaping journeys together. And I think that is the essence of synergy, and that's why we are here. So as we begin this edition, you know, let's lean into it, and let's engage, exchange, and let's elevate each other. And as I said, this is not just about pink and white, it is what happens when we are all together. So we just don't create alongside each other, we create because of each other. So I officially now open the conference of Dialogues 18 Synergy, and I welcome the curator of the event, Sanjay, to do so. And a special thanks to Akshay. I need to, you know, have a special mention, because when I was preparing here at the conference, he came to me and he's like, you know what? I wore color after 12 years. 12 years. I was like, I know. Thank you. So thank you for the synchronized synergies. And let's now open the conference officially of this edition, Synergy.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all for making it. And I know nowadays the design world has become, it's literally the busiest time for all of us, literally the busiest time. And I wish times like this continue, where you can tell clients, no, this project is not good enough, you know, so you won't do it. Because there's that much work happening in India. What is happening in the last, what has happened in the last 30 years, more than that will happen in the next 5 years. That's the kind of construction and design that we are going through in the country. So thank you all for making it. And thank you to Aero for being our digital partner. So every screen that you see, even this very cool looking thing where you just slide out this and it becomes the console, all those little panels that you see next to each stone panel, all of this is done by Aero. So it's really nice, interesting digital work. So once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to Pidilite for the initiative that you saw yesterday, Totems of Synergy, where a lot of effort went in a short period of time to create all these different panels. And big thank you once again to Farhad Bhatkar from FB Design Studio for making all of this in this short period of time, and Manisha from Color Codes for having finished each product very nicely. And a big thank you to Bengani, Mr. Bengani is here, not here.
Hello.
From Indowood for having supplied the eco-friendly material that was used to make those totem poles. So a big thank you once again to everybody who designed the totem poles, and now we'll have a short video of the making of those totems. So that was the totems of synergy, and now we move on to the next series that was created specially for this Dialogues edition. So these are mosaics of synergy, all created by some of you, and stunning panels being worked upon by World of Stones. Fab job in a limited time once again, and extremely, extremely complicated. So big thank you to Mr. Utkarsh, he's in the house, from World of Stones. Thank you very much. And what amazing craftsmanship, insane. So I request all the designers to please quickly go and stand next to their panels. So we're not doing any ribbon cutting or anything, just a quick photograph, and I'll just say your panel and the design. So the first one is Tanya Chutani from Pantone Collective, and the name is Axis of Stone.
Do we have Tanya here?
Tanya is not here?
Okay, then we'll move on to
Okay.
the next.
So the next one is called the Tiled Synergy by Nishit Jariwala from S Team Design Services. Tactile Synergy. And those of you who haven't seen these up close, you should go and see it, because there's a lot of detailing that has gone into each panel.
And this has been done just within 7 days.
Okay, the next one is called Continuum by Zubin Master from Design Matrix Interiors. Okay, the fourth panel is Falling Flowers by Priyanka Arjun from Priyanka Arjun and Associates. The fifth panel is called Patola Mosaic by Varun Shah from Workshop Incorporated. The sixth panel is called Rhizome by Suvrita Bhardwaj from Loop Design Studio.
And it's also designed by Nikhil, who couldn't be there.
Yeah, Nikhil Pratap Singh and Suvrita Bhardwaj. And the final one is called Sinach Caraspace System by Manmeet Kaur Arora from The Arch. So once again, a big thank you to World of Stones, and these panels have been made in the last 7 days. 7 days to make these panels. So from the last dialogue, we reached out to colleges of architecture across India, and 200 colleges have confirmed their participation, and they will all be watching the talks that will happen today and tomorrow. So from 200 colleges, if you take at least 100 students from each, that's a very large number watching this. Be serious, all the presenters. Okay, so I'd like to introduce now the key sponsor, Veeresh Malhan, Pidilite, and call him here for a brief presentation. Enabling bold design, that's the topic. Oops.
Very heavy, please. Some design sketches never turn into reality. Not because there was something wrong with the design, but because the imagination did not get the right partner who could turn the sketch into a landmark. Architects dream without limits, yet site compromises often lead to stifled design and creativity. When design is bold and ambitious, Pidilite Professional Solutions steps in as the partner who transforms vision into reality. Backed by 65 years of trust, blending category-leading brands with seamless execution. Our world-class solutions offer you freedom to design without compromising your vision. For hospitality, residential, commercial, infrastructure, and more. From raft to roof. From podium to facade. From construction to interiors. Our expertise has been trusted in high-profile and high-stakes projects across sectors like hospitality, residential, commercial, healthcare, educational institutions, industrial, infrastructure, government, data centers. But systems alone aren't enough. We safeguard your vision through integrated services across the project lifecycle with a dedicated team of experts for all your construction and interior solutions. Customized detailing at design stage by providing specifications including BOQ and tender-ready estimates with 24/7 Tech Help Desk. Aiding superior execution and keeping you informed of project progress. Certified partner applicators across India. Plus, our in-house expert, waterproofing contractor, Nina Percept. And post-handover, we ensure performance lasts a lifetime. With us, you don't just get products. You get confidence from sketch to site, from handover to years beyond. Pidilite Professional Solutions, enabling bold designs.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's been a 18th edition, and we've been with Dialogue for 17 editions. And a lot of time, a question has been asked to me by the fraternity, by architects, by designers. Why do you guys participate in so many events? Why do you need to be there? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Yes, business is happening. We are meeting. You guys are anyways giving solution. We'll meet and we'll discuss. But what is it that's driving you? I think the last 17 editions, I would say, has given us one understanding completely, that as an organization, we believe that we don't hear you, the time we don't listen to you, we're not able to work on our solutions. And I think that's one of the key reasons why, be it Dialogue or any other event, why we have been continually there. And Dialogue being one of the first which gives us that understanding how much time when you spend with a designer or an architect, even though he's not been able to very explicitly tell us what's happening, but in that conversation, we pick up a lot of things. And that's what we've tried to build on. So what you see today, the Pidilite Professional Solutions as a subdivision of the Pidilite organization, has come out of these conversations only. As an organization, we've been associated with most of you, I would say, right from your childhood, even when you were in your art and craft classes, using Fevicol and playing with it, or whether you were an architecture or design student making models, Fevicol was still being used for that. But as a professional organization, whether it was waterproofing, which is one of the most critical resources for integrity and structure of a building, we were going towards only the consultants and the builders and trying to get it solved. And most of the time, architects used to say, no, we don't want to get involved because problem to aane wali hai. We said, right, because we never had a technical team which was working on this with the fraternity. So I think in exactly a year back in March 25, we decided to pool in all our resources in the organization, bring in the best technical team into one team and call them as Pidilite Professional Solutions. So I have a 70-member team now, which is only working on technical solutions to the designers. They have no work but to work on specifications and your solution needs at the site or whether at the time you guys are deciding. So that's what we worked on the construction part of it. At the same time, we have all been associated through ICA also for the last so many years. You saw what ICA is capable through the creative designs which you had and the execution capability of Farid and Manish and the finishes by ICA. So I think that's demonstrated. But it was only one of the solutions which was coming up as an interior which we were reaching out to you. As a person who's been with Pidilite for 18 years, I myself didn't know how many solutions we had. So now we've got them all under one roof to come to you as a solution-centric brand and talk about that bold is not a design statement, it's what survives the sites. When I say that, what do I mean by it? I think today I'm sitting in a room where at least the 1% of the creative mind of India is there, or designing the most amazing structures, keeping in mind what India needs today, what customer needs today. So imaginations have always run ahead of buildability. All the surfaces are being used as different purposes. Stone, which was traditionally used for flooring, is getting used for multiple things. Tiles have gone on to roofs, ceilings also now. Wood and fabric are getting integrated. I was talking to Nistas yesterday. He was showing me a beautiful design about how his leather couch was getting converted into a bar, where he was integrating a leather with wood and into PU and all those surfaces coming together. Water is integral to most of the design today. You're creating green spaces, wet spaces within the interiors of the construction. But what happens still? There's still a doubt whether the design will stay true to its intent. Will it behave as it imagined? And the primary responsibility which a customer wants, will it age in a manner where it is still going to look aesthetic and it's going to behave the way you designed it for? And who will execute it? 10 people at a site, every time I meet designers and architects, they say, yaar, apply supply ki baat karo. Kaun karke dega ye batao? Who's going to take my headache? I'm not going to go to 5 people and go and have a conversation, so I'm not going to do the work. So that's the other thing which we're trying to solve for. And that's where Pidilite Professional Solutions come for. And today we're trying to announce a new division within Pidilite Professional Solutions, which is PPS as we call it, is the Interior Solution Group. As every language, whether it is design or whether it is verbal, it's expanding. Vocabularies are getting added. Most of you are Gen Z kids, you know the language is changing. Similarly, in design also, everything is getting integrated and changing. We believe that we need to create systems which will help you design the surfaces you want, which will give you the authority to express, and which will be resilient to its nature. As an organization, I think all the solutions we bring in, whether it is and especially functional, which a lot of time people don't get involved, gives you the liberty to fix anything to everything now. We can join anything, let you create what you're wanting to, even if it is an invisible fixing now or whatever size and scale. With ICA, anyways, we have expressed how we can express your designs. We've also now dabbling into a lot of terrazzo floorings. I think some of you would have seen a very, very viral reel of the chef, Mr. Khanna, when he was walking down the Bombay Airport Terminal 2 and was very happy, saying, thank God you have removed that ugly carpet and it's breathable and a beautiful flooring has come to life. So that flooring is what we have done, and I think we executed in a very, very, I think within 3 months or 4 months is what we have executed at entire site, and it's still going on. And will it hold the intent, as I said earlier? Most of the indoor-outdoor areas are getting merged, whether these systems work together to integrate, whether they'll last to take on the traffic areas. So when I say that, the confidence I bring in, because these are the 9 brands which all work together. They all are integrated to each other and they respond well together. I think we're one of the few organizations, I will not say the only one, which are able to offer all of them under one roof, give the support in terms of only solution, no sales. I think that's one part which we have understood over the last 10 years and 17 edition of Dialect. I think you can't sell to an architect or a designer. You cannot just do that. You have to solve for a problem or his problem. These are a few of the large-scale projects which we have done through this model. And I would not take a lot of time because, bear with me, in 17 edition I've never spoken. I usually let my team speak. And Ridhima was very clear that I should speak today. This is what we're trying to apply for. Give you the right specification support. Ensure that we are the only point of contact which helps you on the mock-ups. Provide you with the fit-out guides who are trained and approved by us, and we hold responsibility to that. And if you need a specialized applicant and not a whole thing, and if you need a specific purpose, also what we work on. And in the end, this is what we're trying to achieve, enable you with your bold designs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veeresh. We will now start with a round of designer presentations pertaining to the theme synergy. In a rapidly changing world of space perceptions, their use, material innovations, multifunctional aspects to space, AI, and evolving geometries, synergy is a pertinent theme to reflect the status of architectural, interior, and product design today. All the speakers are requested to give a brief 10-minute presentation that may include their own experimental and exploratory projects or address the theme in any way that they wish to. We request the presenters to adhere to the 10-minute time slot. There will be a reminder bell at 9 minutes. I would now like to call upon our first presenter to start the conference for this edition, Sanjay Patil from Environ Planners, and the topic of his presentation is Between Land and Life, Designing with Sensitivity and Soul.
Good morning. First of all, thank you, Sanjay and Riddhima, for including me in this session. In fact, I was one of the initial dialogue participant. And today, I asked yesterday, Sanjay, like every opening batsman has some tension. Likewise, I'm also having. So, is it the criteria of age that you have selected me first? But I think Akshay corrected me. It's a younger one first. Anyway, so I have made a heavy presentation to remain in time, but I think they are gracious enough to give me 1 minute 22 second extra on 10 minutes. So it's a 11.22 second presentation. So please bear with me for that. Thank you. Architecture for us is always about synergy between land and architecture, between people and consultant, between built spaces and nature. These three projects that you will be seeing in this presentation explore this idea in different ways. Nature silent. It began with a simple thought. Architecture should work with the land, not against it. Site is surrounded by water and filled with beautiful existing trees. Instead of removing them, we preserve them, allowing the trees to guide the placement of the building. To protect the natural ground, the structure is gently elevated so that the landscape can continue beneath it, reducing the disturbance to the site and connecting to the water view. The long horizontal form and large opening creates strong visual connection with the surrounding water and greenery. As one moves through the house, the boundaries between inside and outside slowly disappear. Here, the architecture does not dominate the site, it simply frames the landscape. The project demonstrates the synergy between land and architecture, where the building becomes natural extension of the surrounding. This is near Vaitarna Dam, near Nasik. Bhujbal Knowledge City's MIT College campus in Nasik. The entrance structure of this campus is a good example of how synergy between consultants helps to realize a complex architectural idea. The idea was to create a welcoming gateway to the campus with a large shaded entrance, accommodating huge campus library above. The concept was to make this structure an example of engineering excellence. To realize this vision, we worked closely with structural consultant, Construction Catalyzer. They designed and executed the structure and facade glazing. The structural design team developed the V-shaped steel columns, the wave girders, framework, the tensile and metal roofing. The facade is also carefully designed by them. Service consultant carefully integrated lighting, evaporative cooling system, and drainage within the design. The landscape is also an important aspect in institute design. The natural contours on the sites were well respected and carefully handled with more of native tree plantation. This was done with the landscape consultant route design. The landscape extends both inside the building and outside, creating conducive environment for student interaction. Through this continuous dialogue and coordination, the architectural idea was successfully executed with synergy in this project. The house at Mehravani near Nashik. Nearly 4 decades ago, the land was rocky, barren and almost lifeless. Instead of imposing architecture on the site, we chose to work with the land and let architecture emerge from it. The basalt stone excavated while digging the well and pits for the trees became the very walls of the house. Wooden arches salvaged from the old traditional vada were preserved for years and finally integrated into the design with the traditional spirit that is courtyard. The courtyard with its lotus pond and shaded veranda creates a seamless dialogue between architecture and landscape, allowing light, wind and nature to flow through the space. The extension of house continued the same philosophy of reduce, recycle and reuse, incorporating reclaimed columns, beams and brackets from other old vada while respecting the existing trees and landscape. Over the time, it transformed. More than 4,000 indigenous trees were planted, turning the barren terrain into a thriving ecosystem for birds, insects and people. Today, this farmhouse is more than built farm. It is a living ecosystem where land shapes architecture, landscape nurtures life, and architecture simply frames nature. In essence, the project is not about constructing house, but about creating a lasting synergy between land, architecture, landscape, and life.
Yes, sir. Our next presenter is Aparna Narasimhan from Venkataramanan Associates, also known as the VA Group, and the topic of her presentation is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Can I help you with this? Would you like to hold it or should I put it? I think I'll put it on.
Is this all right?
Yeah, this should be okay. Can you just say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, this is fine.
Maybe I put it the wrong way.
Put it this side. Yeah, this should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for inviting me, Dialogue and your team. And thanks for everybody who's here listening to this monologue. I hope I can keep it for 10 minutes. I haven't tried it out. When sage Markandeya, who's a rishi, was having a conversation with King Vajra, who's a descendant of Krishna, and King Vajra asks Markandeya that give me some formula by which I can be having a life of joy and fulfillment, both this life and for the next life. To this, sage Markandeya replies that for that you need to have some sort of a passion, some sort of an abiding interest. And to have that, you need to have some sort of a physical form. You have to create something yourself. And it has to be a physical form which can connect your imaginary thoughts and ideas. So you need something that connects it. And for that, you need a physical form or an idol, what we call a pratima. And that, for that to be beautiful, to hold your attention, you have to understand pratima lakshanas, or you have to understand sculpture. And to understand sculpture, you need to understand how to represent a 3-dimension in a 2-dimensional way. And so you need to understand painting. So you need to understand the Chitra Sutras. And to understand painting, you need to understand the human body and how to represent it, its balance, its grace, its movement. And for that, you need to understand Natya Shastra, you need to understand emotions, you need to understand Nritya Shastra. So, and for that, you need to understand music and things like that. So by the end of it, King Vajra realizes that what Markandeya is talking about is actually synergy, that everything is connected, and that to understand one thing, you need to know the other. And by the end of it, the other thing that Markandeya is alluding to is that you will already have a life of passion and fulfillment because you would have gathered all these skills through the end of this process. So, but for me, the main thing is that to create anything, you need to have sort of a technical training and you need to create skills for yourself. So that's my learning too from this. How does this pan out in our lives? Take me, for example. I've been through this regular rite of passage that everybody has after school, cramping for admissions in college. And when I got into architecture, the usual comments came flowing in from well-meaning family members, uncles and all. Oh, she's a girl, she can draw, she can paint, she can stay at home and work. So it's a good thing for her. I mean, it's stereotyping women, of course, but also it's stereotyping the profession. But it came from a good place, so I was not bothered by that. As a teenager, I had many interests, some my own, and some were thrust upon me because I was a girl, and some, like music, were mandatory because coming from a typical South Indian family, one had to go through the rigor. And it was a few of these skills that I used later in my work and in my profession. This is my studio now. And that strange contraption in plastic with 2 triangles, that's the parallel, and those are the set squares. I still use that. Many of you, the younger generation, may have just bypassed this whole process. And this is my tailoring studio. I always made my own clothes. And the sewing machine, that icon of domesticity, was always in my study. Hanging around with my mother, I picked up the basics, and although it was considered quite plebeian, ordinary, fortunately, I didn't run away from it. So, is there anything common between this housewife's hobby and architecture? Without my realizing it, this became a stepping stone for me. Since I knew fabric, understanding drape and fall came easily to me, and I understood crafts and tradition, so I understood history. I understood the human form, so I understood development of surfaces. When you think of it, it's quite crazy, isn't it, that a flat 2-dimensional piece of fabric can wrap around this complex biological form of ours and fit perfectly without any wrinkles and allow for movement. So it's quite fascinating, according to me, parametric design, actually, if you will. I learned that there was a relationship between material and cuts, hand-woven fabric and natural fibers, which was the norm those days. There was no machines, they were hand-woven, the yarn was hand-spun, and dyed vegetable dyes were used. And it was hard work, and so fabric needed to be conserved. And hence these traditional straight cut that you see on the left of a Kalidar Lucknow kurta, where not even a piece of fabric was wasted. And everything was a straight line or diagonal lines, a rectangle or a triangle. So every piece was conserved. And this, I noticed, was the case in any ancient culture, the kimono or the Arabic jalaba or the disdasha or something that they call, that they wear in Arabic nations. All of them, the basic cut is the same. It's just the sizes vary, and how loose it is, it varies. So one learns to respect material. But whereas the cut on the right that you can see came after, mill looms were introduced, and then it was not so important to conserve fabric. And it's the same with architecture. Once you have plywood and laminates, it's okay. You don't have to worry like if you were using natural materials like teak wood. The structural design of clothes. Just like our buildings, clothes have stress and strain points too. Wear and tear is caused by moving arms and legs. And these stress areas need reinforcement, whether it's under the armhole or at the slit where your kurta's sides meet. All these are stress points, and you can see here how it's reinforced with that blue fabric, just to give you an idea. And contrasting material, you can choose to express that junction, or you can just choose to blend it, just like you would express a hinge or a dovetail joint. You could do that with fabric too. Sometimes you would use fabric in bias, so there's a little give, there's a play, and it allows you to stretch. The lapels of your shirt, where you button up, or your cuffs, all have extra layers of fabric. These are all details that keep it firm and strong. So I realized that it's not devil, but design that is there in the details too. Quilting, it's an age-old art, a craft actually. And whether it's the patchwork quilt of a typical Midwestern country home in America, or the kantha of West Bengal, or the kaudi, I think, in North Karnataka, all these are what do you do with extra material. They repurpose it very effectively and very aesthetically. And it could also be in architecture. Wherever there is marble, there is mosaic. whether it is in Italy or in Rajasthan, the terrazzo flooring in your Milan airport, or the DDA flats that you see in Delhi built in the 70s, mosaic flooring. So what do you do with the waste pieces? Use it effectively. Drawing, measuring, and pattern making led me further later on to sketching. And sketching not particularly as a profession, I was far away from that, far away from that, but more as a skill to study and to observe and to unravel why a thing is done in a particular way. And why is drawing so crucial to architecture? Because you have this easily accessible two-dimensional medium to express something or to document something which is in 3 dimensions. So I feel quick sketching is a very useful trick to have. And if you don't have digital means, then this is a really useful and ubiquitous piece of skill that you could have. It's to study form or contours, to even study intangibles like character, movement, and mood, or of a person, of a space. Here are some examples. I'll just quickly take you through a few of my sketches and then move on to architecture. Observe the character of these 2 people here. The wizened old man with the keen eye out for customers on the left, and the other is a young Italian impresario. One is sitting a bit hunched up and tense, looking out for a customer, hoping he meets his expenses. And the other, although rather short, he makes up for it by his laid back, by his attitude, leaning back with an erect body language. Just their body language is a clue. It's not hard to tell the character here of this little girl, a little defiant, not your typical girl into dolls, frills, frocks, etc. And she grows, and after several years into this teenager, but the same character comes through. The carefully careless hair, grunge-like, a jacket thrown on, and not that meticulous, manicured little lady. So from people to other life forms, it's always very complex to draw biological forms, especially zoological ones. And because of their continuously changing contours, form here, for example, is dominated by this huge abdomen. I mean, I was at a time very fascinated by cows. And it's held by this, skeletal structure here of this cow. And as you can see, the muscles are hung from those hip bones. Here, animals again, and but with a little difference, because it's the very nature of an animal like a donkey, which doesn't respond to stimulus or any eye contact, comes through, where a donkey is facing a dead wall or each other. So I was quite fascinated in the strip through Idra. And then also that intangible of that huge ship, the power of that entire huge ship on a dynamic surface like water, but it's held together by that anchor. The tautness of that anchor just expresses tension so well for me. Contrasts, this is just a study in how that jharoka is framing and bringing out the contrast, and that little chhatri that you can see shows how in a climate like this, something that pierces the sky in a terrace, shows how life can happen in a terrace, unlike anywhere in the south. It's not so common. Or the other idea of contrast could be how this entire foliage is taking over the build structure, which is quite secondary. Spaces for people, made by people. The one on the left is clearly a very formal space, Piazza San Marco, which you can see through this arch. It's lined by this very formal buildings all around, a colonnade, and then a cathedral on one side with the campanile. And there is a focus on the cathedral, and it's a very ceremonial space for people. Whereas the one on the right is just incidental, carved out by passage, by usage, and more personalized at a very human scale. So there is a certain character to that. And here, for example, there's a little synagogue in Jewtown, Cochin, a little space out there for people to enter before you enter the synagogue, or the junction in, commercial sort of a junction in street crossing in Milan, how that contrasts so much with that huge sort of impersonal meeting space in Tiananmen Square in Beijing, where you're a fleck in that huge crowd and you just do not have a voice in a government or in a politics like that. After, spaces are one thing, but entire cities can have character too. The one on the left is, for me, it's kind of fun to, when you travel, to capture something which just has a couple of elements which are a clue to the entire city. For example, the picture on the left, for me, just captures any city in Germany, but this is in Berlin in particular, where the 3x3 stones, pavers, are used throughout in Germany, in all the cities. And they're so clever, they're embedded in sand. There is no concrete. It's not permanent. You can just pull it out if you like. But they're tightly embedded in sand, held together by coping all over, border stones. And they take over anything that is placed in the pavement, whether it's a water fountain or a tree guard, or a hatch for utilities below, and they take on the shape of the contours. So it's the most brilliant little thing that they have invented, I think, in Germany. And any clues which the city on the right could be, the varying brickwork that you can see on the walls, and the paving, and the road, the potatoes, the bicycle, all these are clues. Amsterdam, yeah. So it's very, something that captures, a couple of things that can capture an entire city is a game that one could play with. This is, I've always felt that towers are a statement. They're a statement of power, of politics, or in any civilization, ancient or even today, whether it's the Gopurams of the Pallavas, or the Vimanas of the Chola Empire, or the Qutub Minar of Delhi, the political history of any place is played out here. For example, in Germany, in Berlin, there is this cathedral tower, which was once the symbol of power, quickly taken over by the national symbol of communist power of GDR, the TV tower in Alexanderplatz in Berlin. So we began this talk with sketching and drawing what we saw, whatever we observed, and naturally what we liked. But now let's move further and see how we can use this to create something that we want to see, and which is what architecture is, that something that we create and we want to see. Starting with, in a project here, drawing what exists, very faithfully and very carefully capturing what exists in a site. This is a project that we did for a school in the outskirts of Bangalore, a very wooded site and a lot of contours, very steep contours, as you can see here. And the amphitheater existed. So we had to really carefully document exactly how the slopes were there and how that wooded site, indigenous trees, all of them were there in the site. And before we jumped to creating anything, it was very important to actually document it and then slowly move on to the ideas that we wanted to explore. The project is called the Art Village in Valley School of Bangalore, and we felt that the empty space is at least as important as everything around it. So we thought the courts would be a very important learning point for children. So we had courts on the left, on the right side of the amphitheater along the contours, and the courts on the left was against the contours. So we created different kind of feeling in the courts here. And we used, the school was crowd-funded by the parents of the school, whatever donations that they gave. So we had a very tight corpus. And so we decided on a simple 6-meter module with a truss. So we used no structural engineer and locally available labor and that helped keep the costs down. I have a confession. I do not use AutoCAD, at least not for this project. No AutoCAD was used. And also it helped with the budget. We couldn't, it was a pro bono job, and we had to use very limited resources within our office also. And as in tailoring, drawing is the same, dimensioning is the same. Sizing and proportioning is important for decision making in design. So, and to romanticize this idea, because it was called the Art Village and for the specific arts program that the school offered, so, and to romanticize this idea of art, this project was executed almost entirely with hand-drawn working drawings. And the building sits gently along the existing contours, embedding itself into the profile of the slope. There was no retention, no cutting of land or trees. And again, this helped keep the costs down. We used only terracotta and granite, which was mostly terracotta, table molded bricks, not even wire cut bricks, terracotta roof, Mangalore tiles, and granite, which is locally available, but very expensive as far as labor is concerned. So we just used it as trims, as you would with expensive material in any clothes that you design. So it was used only as a, as a trim, and, only the horizontals as a datum or as a reference point were used with granite, and the slope of the land could be highlighted by how the height varies with reference to that horizontal line there. Drawings were made to pin the building to the ground, and trees had to be framed and or skirted, so it was very important to measure all the trees, and we used a simple triangulation technique in the site. We didn't hire a surveyor, but we went and measured the triangles between each tree, so that was the best way to root the tree onto the ground. We devised these simple devices, creating courts of various shapes and sizes. The built volumes of pavilions alternate with sequences of courts and open to sky classrooms. We used, like I said, materials of the earth. I'd be lying if I said that those trees and slopes didn't challenge us. It certainly did, but we embraced those features. Tied in with this idea of the holistic experience. Some of the details that we have of those figures over there were done by the art teacher from Shantiniketan. Steep drop, the building almost disappears. These are some of the pictures of the site. Do I continue or should I stop? I have just 5 more slides, yeah? Okay. This is a house that we did in a very modest neighborhood of Bangalore called Jayanagar. And it's generous plots, generous roads, but the buildings were very, very modest with simple materials. It was developed in the 1970s, pretty old, and most of the houses were built by Karnataka Housing Board, and so it was a very, no fancy materials. And the client had bought a piece of land here and wanted to build something which is very self-effacing, very introverted clients. So we didn't want to scream out to the neighborhood. Here, the privacy was valued by the client, so you can see the front of the building is separated from the back of the building by the court, and the court enters into the building also, and the landscape was given as much importance as the interiors of the house. Very basic, simple ideas were used. Some of the old details like the Art Deco compound walls were brought inside the house to extend the idea of a court. Some materials that were used. Now, my journey into this firm has always been a bit conflicted, because mainly my OCD or love for details, kind of to reconcile that with my firm's pursuit of large-scale projects has always been a bit difficult for me. But I pursued nevertheless. And all these large apartment complexes are one of the areas that I got interested in, because for that you need to understand the collective aspirations of the people who are going to live there. The builder is not really the one who's going to use the space, so you'll need to understand whom he's selling it to. And the client might just give you a cryptic sort of a description of what he wants, and you've got to read between the lines. And so these initial sketches for a clubhouse for a project in the south of Bangalore was how, you know, the numbers were also tied down and the idea was also tied down. We had to work with very, you know, with complicated statutory bylaws and you know, land extensions and buffer zones and a lot of things like that. So you can see, I don't know if you can see properly, but the FSI is also scribbled everywhere. Everything that you make a change for, you keep an idea of the numbers. Those apartments take care of all the FSI. The number crunching happens in the background. And I got to do the programmatically a little challenging part of the clubhouse in a very contoured site. So matching the client's aspirations with the design intent always is a creative challenge. This is called a Prestige Sterling, not Prestige, I'm sorry, Sterling Terraces in the south of Bangalore. We are a boutique firm, but a large boutique firm, and so ours is a design-driven business. Unlike many firms which are there in India, which are kind of large firms, they're mostly business-driven businesses, but ours is a design-driven business firm, so it's always a bit of a challenge. This is for a project that we did in one of the largest mixed-use development projects in the south of Bangalore called Prestige Falcon City. The master planning was thought out. The genesis is always a hand-drawn sketch and how it transforms over time. And you cannot get attached to a single idea in a project as large as this. It morphs over time. Land packets are bought, they are sold, and then lots of other factors come into play, and you ditch and you recreate, and finally the final design came through. What began as, on the right, as you can see, a continuous towers of 30 floors, we thought that would be like a fortress and it wouldn't be a good idea, and therefore later we had these individual towers. This is how it looks now with time. And that's the clubhouse. So my learning from this journey so far is that architecture and design should drive you, sure, but it's with process and sound business principles that you will be allowed to build with scale. Thank you. An architect starts with the intangible, makes it tangible, and if they are any good, the result is finally intangible again. Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnanadhaya Purnameva Avashishyate. What remains is again full. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna. Our next presenter for the day is Roshni Kshirsagar from SJK Architects, and the topic of her presentation is Power of Storytelling in Interior Design. Can I help you, or would you want to do it on your own?
Thank you. Hello? Is it better?
A little higher.
Okay. Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Just speak a little louder. Maybe.
I just want to test this once. Yeah.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. Sanjay, thank you for the invitation. Ridhima, just everything has been so phenomenal so far. We are SJK Architects. We are a Mumbai-based practice. Sorry, I just have one. Can I see the text here? I need the presentation here for my notes. Okay. don't add this to my minutes. Yeah. Is there a laptop that I can use? I needed the presentation over here for my notes. It's just come. Yeah. Got it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, they have promised me that my time starts now. So, thank you so much. Like I was saying, we are a Bombay-based practice. We do architecture, interior design, master planning, a practice that was founded in 1990 by Shimul, who a lot of people over here would know very well. And about 4 years ago, we became a partnership firm. So Sarika, Vaishali, and myself, along with Shimul, we lead this practice now. And I feel when this topic of synergy came in, I think there are so many ways of interpreting it. And I feel apart from, our work sort of showing the way we work collaboratively with everybody, I think the same sort of applies within the organization as well. The four of us work with each other across projects, and I think that's just been something exceptional and something that I'm very proud of. We also work hybrid, so COVID taught us to work remotely and work very efficiently, and we continued that into our post-COVID avatar. We designed for a rapidly urbanizing India, crafting from the study of climate, culture, history, and technology, wherein each project is unique to its place and purpose. There are two projects I want to show today, speaking around the idea of storytelling in design. We often turn to certain principles that help guide this process, and some of them are, we turn to cultural histories often, because fortunately the places where we have built so far have been phenomenal and rich in terms of its culture. Craft often finds its place, whether it is in the roof tiles of Bodh Gaya or the way we're bringing in the local crafts in our Hampi project. There's nothing that can happen on any of this without working collaboratively across all mediums, and I think that's such an important aspect. This project has been 14 years in the making, and the end of this month is when this museum gets inaugurated. It's in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. This is a Jain museum for a private trust. Jainism is one of the oldest religions, about 2,500 years old, and it's the 6th largest religion in the country. Our site is in Ahmedabad, actually Gandhinagar. not too far away from the airport. This is a site that is owned by a private trust. So across, on either ends of this land parcel, the existing sort of functions that happen is there's a dining facility, there's a residence. This is largely for the Jain pilgrims. And on the other end, there is a dirasar, a small library, and another sort of living stay for sadhus and sadhvis. And in between that was our 2-acre of plot. And when the clients came to us, I mean, they had identified the site, but not identified the fact that there's a lot of movement that happens between the dharamshala and the dirasar. So instead of skirting the building, we looked at raising the building so that there could be movement across these two functions. The site was dotted with beautiful trees, mango, neem, and a lot of local vegetation. And that's the axis that I was talking about earlier, which we wanted to retain. So here is where, you know, the cultural histories start informing the way we shape this building. We looked at Ranakpur temple and its layout and superimposed it with the concentric mandalas. And the symmetrical and the layered plan sort of accommodated the existing trees, creating smaller courtyards, often shifting the axis to make sure that the functional aspect of the building was always considered. This was a public building, is a public building after all. That's a quick build-up of the different layers. In sort of raising the building, the main sort of gallery spaces move onto the first and second floor, wherein the ground and the mezzanine is where all the other services happen. The function was set in, the entire flow of the museum was in place, and you know, the idea of what will this building look like, the way it sits, what it signifies. I think the fact that we wanted this to be just a simple white building was very clear, but what are the kind of materials, how does symbology come in, how does the entire building sit very lightly within the trees was pretty crucial. And we turned to a mix of marble, of course, you know, symbolizing purity, tranquility, along with the other sort of symbolic features of from the tenets of Jainism. Ashtamangal, which is the 8 sort of aspects formed. It became a part of the structure. We brought it in through carving it within the plaster, through carving it in the marble at the entrance. And then these are some of the overall visuals of the project. It's the ramp that takes you to the first gallery. As the building lifts up, it not just creates a pathway between the dharamshala and the derasar, but also a really open courtyard with a water body that allows not just the visitors of the museum, but even, you know, people that are passing through the structure to take a moment. And a complete contrast from the building is the exhibition design. Within a black box, we have a series of 7 galleries that flow across the 2 floors. And the idea here was to take the visitor through not just an introduction to Jainism, but also how the practice came into being, and that happens through 7 galleries. This is the first floor where we have 4 galleries, and you have a circumambulatory sort of movement starting back from gallery 5, 6, and the last gallery that takes you again down to where you started. The entire exhibition design was a slow narration, but through an expansive collection that this trust had, dating from the 2nd century. And a major consideration across was to ensure that we adhere to the international museum standards as defined by ICOMOS in focus, especially ensuring that the humidity and temperature control was maintained. There are certain areas within the gallery where again we turned to the period from which the narration happened. So here in gallery 4, we drew a lot from the temple of Girnar and its jalis. And that became an enclosure for a EV setting. One of the key sort of objects that the gallery has is an Akbar Farman, which is the original decree issued by Akbar, influenced by Heer Suri, which banned animal slaughter during the period of Paryushan. And I mean, an unheard thing for a Mughal emperor to ban killing. And this was seen largely in Gujarat and Lahore as a part of his policy towards religious tolerance. And the museum has the original decree displayed. And this gallery took a lot of its features and proportions and forms from Fatehpur Sikri. We expanded the decree to, form a larger sort of backdrop, and that's the gallery. These are small sort of glimpses. Like I said, the project is well in its way to completion. These are some of the glimpses from other galleries. That's Mahavir. This is an extension of Mahavir Gallery. Yep. Like I said, 14 years in the making. I was, I think, well into my 20s when I started this project. The next project that I want to show very quickly is just a quick glimpse into the hotel that we are designing in Hampi. And instead of getting into the project, I just want to show a small video wherein we are working very closely with the local craft clusters to develop products, not just as art and craft for the hotel, but something that becomes an integral part. And it's really been an absolute joy of my life to be working on this project. Hampi, as most of you all would know, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here, I think our hope has been to bridge the past and the present seamlessly, yet create a beautiful hotel for our clients. That's a little visual of the entrance. Yep, if you can play the video. Increase the volume. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshni. Our next presenters are Raghunandan Gururaj and Nagendra Ramachandran from Parallax, and the topic of their presentation is Architecture as it is, seen, felt, and made.
Thank you, Sanjay, Puri, Team Dialogue, and Kshirsagar for inviting us. I think for us, nothing begins with us. I mean, this is the brief drives our practice and has led us to realize everything already exists around us. We simply need to listen. I think that's what we believe in. We have to connect, engage, dialogue with the people, history, and a landscape, and also with our own belief. With this, architecture for us is a spiritual journey. Synergy, I think synergy is just not about the idea matching, it's about the idea belonging together. For us, there are two types of synergy what we are thinking about. Internal synergy and external synergy. The internal synergy is dialogue between our philosophy and our surrounding. External synergy is about collaborating with the different forms. I think with this, our first project, which we would like to present, House on Pipes, this is in Bangalore. It's a 2-acre property and a little outskirts of Bangalore. The first site visit, I think, gave us a lot more idea about what we wanted to do in this project. Light filtering through the coconut tree and casting soft, translucent glow was beautiful insight. That stuck in our mind, and we are trying to recreate that with a simple idea of that. And because of that, I think we lifted the whole bottom portion of it, and coconut tree or any tree, which gives kind of an idea about how minimal contact has to be there for the Mother Earth. So how do we do that? So with this context, I think we started developing structure. This is where you enter from the northern side, and it's a two-bedroom small farmhouse. And the Kalyani or the step well is on the northern side, and the last one where we renovated the existing structure. Yeah, this is how the plan looks. It's very small, 2-bedroom on either side. Center is a living room and a pantry space, and eastern part of it where we have space to sit. The whole idea here was to make sure how transparent or how easily you can build in this entire thing, which gives some kind of an idea about you see through the entire farmhouse. So that was the main intent of it. And then we also worked out our own wall system. The external layer is fly ash block, which is put it such a way that it reduces the total load of it, and it also creates a shadow pattern to each other. So it reduces the heat volume further. And for these to insert, we taken 4 mm thin rods and then placed it alternatively, and backside is a metal sheet and insulation, and then the internal part of it is cement boards. So we've used very simple materials to do this. We chose the color black. I think it merges with the entire landscape, and then it also creates a lot more shadow feel to that monochrome. Yeah, that's the small reflecting pond with that entire area. And it feels like it's floating because of the 3-inch MS pipe. The whole structure is placed on 3-inch small MS pipes, which is on top of it, like the whole building sits. And also from how the tree, it kind of merges through that, and all trees is part of the program. I think in most of our practice, trees are kept in either it's inside or like part of it, and it shows. And we also consciously made sure, like, structural element is part of the, like, we didn't want it to hide the structure element at all. So we wanted to express it in a right way, and it also becomes part of it. That's the, and cement board, I think it's a great material to give you the, yeah, I think this is the first impression what we had, like, when we went to the site, how we visualized through this sunlight passing through that, and we tried to recreate. Lighting design for this building was a challenging thing. This is how it, like, just merges through the entire property. Yeah, I think we took there's a South Indian temple, how they light this, it's called Deepotsav. Like, through that we just started lighting the entire thing in subtle way. So it doesn't, like, overheard about the lighting or overboard of it. I think at this point of time, my client called and told, your house is appreciated from outside. I always sit outside, and this started another project. We did it in the same property, called, and a lot of people started coming and partying. So he said, I want a little quiet space now, small guest house. So how do we, like, do it in this? So we started another project. It's called Naked House, collaborated with Studio Gravitas. This project is interesting because he came up with, I think, after all these landscaping and everything we did, he said, I don't have a budget, almost like a nil. So he wanted a project which is very less cost. So I think because of this, we have to came out of our comfort zone to use a material which is naked in form, or no lipstick work, or it just represent in a pure form. I think that's the first part of the thing which we started with. This is the site, house on pipes in the right-hand side, and the naked house at the end of the property. It's an under construction project now. Yeah, here there's totally 7 rooms are there, ground floor 4 rooms, and upper floor 3 rooms are there. We have made these boxes such a way that it's in a staggered. So it's like a village. If you go to the village, they all staggered patterns are there, which creates some kind of an enclosure, or it creates a narrow lane in between these area for, like, the negative or the incidental spaces to sit around. And we also added a perforated wall, or the jali wall around this thing to get the shaded area for that. It's a very simple in design, and the brick was the, I think, only option we had because of the, it's locally available, and it's easy to make for the people. So we use that. These are some of the, like, sketches or graphics, how the spaces feels like. Yeah, these are the construction image. Right now what's happening. So how the latent shadow effects on these brick, and work with local mason, like, their quality of work, and how the tree becomes part of it. Yeah, that's how light and shadow effects are there. In a couple of months, I think it will just get completed. Yeah, how we celebrate the tree, part of the program. Yeah, this is. Yeah, another project which we were collaborated with, like, Studio Gravitas, is the Durga project. I think this is our one of the favorite project now. This located in Chitradurga. It's got a history, and it's inspired by the client wish, like, a place to be encouraged in the spiritual living. He wanted a farmhouse to be like, encouraged in the spiritual living kind of thing. The design begins with an attempt to capture the spirit of the place itself, Chitradurga, architectural and territorial legacy of the Durga, and certain reclaimed elevated ground to take advantages of the surrounding views. The house becomes a defined territory within the landscape. I think with this kind of a thing, like, we started understanding how the local materials are the very age-old method of construction, how they used to do it. First, the initial part of the brick, stone, and masonry work. Actually, it's a garai, or the plastering work, how they used to work with that. I think from there, this is, we took a inspiration from there, like structure, support, and shelter. These are mantap kind of thing. Program becomes the structure, and then shelter, and this is, yeah, I mean, this is how we are carving out the ground floor plan and first floor plan of it. Yeah, that's, yeah, this is how it looks now, the images, some of the images. That's the temple pillar, and this is where you enter through this property. Yeah, that's the living room. Yeah, I think Twin House is I'll just take you through the images of it. This is in Nandi Hills quarry site. We took the quarry, I mean, we are trying to quarry it out of it. Two brothers stays together here. I'm just take you, yeah, how these, the spaces we are trying to carve out of it, and the negative of it, the other house which takes you through this. Yeah, two ground floor plan first. Yeah, that's, I think, the image, what it gives you an idea about that. Yeah, some of the construction. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagendra. Up next, we have Akshay Hiranjal from the Purple Ink Studio, and the topic of his presentation is Building with Intent, Practice, Projects, and Purple Ink.
Thanks. I'll need to get the lights off, sound on. Lights off, sound on perfectly. You'll help me? All lights off. So I think I'm the last one, am I? Yeah. So I'm going to stick to my time. So there's a lot of camouflage, all lights off, sound so you don't hear me breathing. Thank you, first of all, Sanjay sir, for having me here, Ridhima. And I realized I would have loved to talk from my heart, but with the paucity of time, I think 10 minutes, articulation is a little difficult for me in that sense. So I'm going to read a lot of it. So I want to start with a small story. Bharat, one of the earliest rulers of a land, believed he was the first one to conquer it. He wanted to carve his name on the slopes of Mount Meru. But when he reached the top, he saw hundreds of names already inscribed, and each one believed that they were the first ones to do so. This story, in its essence, captures something fundamental about the Indian ethos, that we exist within a canvas of infinity. Nothing is unique or new. Everything has happened before, and everything will happen again. So in this vast continuum, where does Purple Ink stand? Over the last 14 years in our practice, we began to realize that our sense of belonging has always come from things that we've experienced, our culture. If you look back in the 50s and 60s and 70s rather, art, architecture, cinema and music reflected not just what time we were in, but it also shaped into who we became. In its essence, they shaped culture. Somewhere along the way, we began to feel that architecture wasn't holding the same cultural weight, especially in its public realm. But if you look at where India is right now, I think there's something extraordinary happening, right? Food, beverage, textiles, experiences, are becoming more and more homegrown, more India forward, more precise. And while all this is happening, we kept asking ourselves, why is architecture still operating in silos? So where is architecture, in essence, becomes a very deeply personal question for us. And for someone who's always looked at the idea of architecture having the possibility to shape culture, we said, is it possible to change the narrative now? Can culture shape architecture? We started diving in a little deeper and said, can purple ink evolve into a cultural practice rather than just an architectural practice? Because culture was also the reason for our origin. 2011, Metallica played for the very first time in India, and this was in Bangalore. Aditi and I were there, and we realized and felt that we wanted our practice to carry the same raw energy, that intensity, and work with authenticity. Somewhere we realized in these last 10 years or 12 years that our work has we've never been able to separate or draw a clear line between architecture, landscape and interiors. And maybe that was always the point, to see space as one continuous conversation. So we decided to pivot and start looking at ourselves as a cultural practice. So projects would no longer be driven by architecture alone. He said, is it possible that architecture starts becoming part of something larger, a larger ecosystem? So each project now that we're doing goes through a particular framework that's holding purple ink, then becomes the mothership, and everything else becomes mediums within it. So there's a possibility that projects start becoming something larger than that they are supposed to be. I'm going to talk to you all about what we're doing right now, and just briefly explaining you all what I'm trying to say or what we are trying to do through the different mediums that we're looking at. We created seed first, and this is where we define the cultural premise of a project before architecture begins. Simple example of one of our projects that we're doing, that's Bengaluru. One of our clients had 11 sites across the north part of Bangalore, and we began building a docket that does two things. One is to see land not as isolated parcels, but as a network where programs can speak to each other. Two, to build with specificity, where each project responds to a clearly defined age group with a distinct intent and energy. And then we decided to organize these into clusters so that they don't operate in silos. If I could zoom in a little bit, this is cluster 1, which essentially sits at the foothills of Nandi Hills. And we began by understanding who comes here. It's usually a larger, younger demographic which essentially loves to drive down every weekend. And in that, one of the first sites that we're working on essentially looks at the idea of hospitality or a hotel. We call this a Rebel Hotel. Not a large chain, but something homegrown, responding directly to the audience that it caters to. We began by defining programs around Bengaluru's culture, coffee, recording, vinyl, media. All of this begins to define the narrative of the program and pushes to create a hotel that's not generic anymore. This is how we begin by defining a cultural premise for each project. And we make this stronger by asking a few key questions that brings in a lot more clarity into decision making. Developing a program like this for each cluster with clarity could allow multiple architects to collaborate with us and not just have us alone at the forefront. This then moves on to the next medium called the studio, And this is where the premise begins to take architectural form. The studio translates the premise using culture, context, and clarity. Continuing the same example of what I was trying to show you all, we begin by asking, can a hotel enable a cultural movement? Why can't hotels move beyond and become the cultural canvas of a city? We call them hotels inspired by culture or hotels that could inspire culture. Here is a very small compressed version of what we are trying to do in one part of the project. We are looking at a hotel where rooms are no longer just rooms. They are built around culture codes, coffee, music, cinema, media, etc. You choose what you want to connect to. And these become overlays of every single room with subcultures within it. With this intent, we realize that hotels are no longer just rooms with a view. They can be rooms with a purpose. Then there's press. This is the next medium that we're working on. And here, the narrative continues through writing and publications. So what you're seeing here are covers of some of the books that we're working on. Almost like vinyl covers. During this process, we realize something simple. People read differently at different ages. So books need to become age-specific editions. And in this case, these are like zines. And hopefully over time, these can become a collection of cultural fragments. Moving on to objects. This looks at creating project-specific pieces that extend the identity of a project. This goes beyond the idea of a building and making it into something tangible. One object that most of us remember growing up is the flipbook, a simple idea that made movement visible frame by frame. For the German pavilion that we did a few months ago at the Kerala Literature Festival, the architecture demanded slowness, but it had to be built in 17 days. The object in this case is a flipbook that captures this tension between time accumulated and time compressed. A small object, but a powerful metaphor. Each object talks about things that it is meant to be, the projects in focus, age groups that it's catering to, making it a lot more tangible. The last medium, the radio. This is where ideas enter public discourse through talks, conversations, podcasts, lectures, etc. One of the things that we're doing is inviting people to share ideas, to have conversations. We've had filmmakers, architects, and of course we're looking to have a lot more people from different mediums come to us as well, like musicians, chefs, etc. from other domains, so that architecture starts giving back and becomes part of a larger ecosystem. At the end, we want the radio to extend outwards. And through our talks and keynotes, which we do many times in a year, we realized, of course, we are not Metallica, but we hope to carry forward the same spirit, honest, unapologetic, and deeply personal. That's the story of what we are doing right now, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Akshay. So we don't have a presentation next, but we have something to present to someone. It's someone's special day today. Happy birthday, Smita Zakaria. May I please request Smita to come here so that team Dialogues and everyone present here can, extend their warm birthday wishes to her. Happy birthday, Smita. Can we have you here? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Smita. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so now we're going to have a short tea and coffee break. But before I share details for the tea coffee break and what comes next, it's a humble request that everyone assembles on time after their meal breaks. Also, with regards to tomorrow, may I please humbly request everyone to finish their breakfast a little earlier and start assembling at 10 a.m. so that we have more time to synergize at Synergy. So now we all proceed for a tea and coffee break, which is a short 15-minute break. Before we head for the partnering product company meetings in the ballroom, we've scheduled a series of one-on-one meetings with our partnering brands. The meeting groups have been organized into 4 categories: red, green, yellow, and blue. Following the tea break, our team will be available to guide you to the respective meeting areas. We request you to adhere to the time slot so that the entire event runs on schedule. The meetings will be followed by a meticulously curated pan-Italian lunch break back here at the pre-function area. Team Dialogues will guide you further. Thank you and see you after a short while.